Death in Venice by Thomas Mann. This is the topic of discussion for today's class. Hello my dear friends, I welcome you all to my channel Best Notes Tutorials. In this video, we will talk about a novella which is best published piece by Thomas Mann ever. And in this novella, that is shorter than a novel and a bit lengthier than a short story. Okay, those are called novellas. So Death in Venice is also a novella, and here we are going to understand about a story related to a writer which happened in a place called Venice. So before I move into the novel, let me discuss what is Venice and why writer has chosen this particular place for setting his story. And I'll tell you about Venice in the novel and Venice as we know. All right, when you search in Google, what are the interesting facts that you come across, I'll tell you all those, and we will contrast the Venice that we know and the Venice which the writer or the protagonist experienced in this story. Okay, so let's start. Venice. Here, Venice is the place, all right, and as we know, it is the most desired place for honeymoon couples. Okay, after their marriage, they want to spend some time with their beloved one in this place, and this is the place which falls in Italy. All right, and here we find the Grand Canal which divides the city into two portions, and this canal is in S-shaped, and this beautifies the place Venice. Okay, and this is very neat and clean place which in the picture also we find beautiful houses, color painted in different colors, and then the shapes of the houses are almost equal and it is in sequence, because of which the place is very beautiful. And one more interesting fact is that if somebody wants to visit Venice, they have to hire gondolas. Gondolas are narrow boats, all right, and there are almost 350 gondolas, and the gondolas are 11-meter long and it weighs 600 kgs. And to row, we need gondoliers, that is boatmen, and there are almost 400 boatmen who are engaged in, showing the city to the tourists. Apart from this, the city has 177 canals and 417 bridges, and that is why it is called the city of bridges, the city of canals, the city of gondolas, etc. Okay, and this attracts almost 1.4 million tourists every year. The number of the tourists are increasing, but the city Venice is at stake. Why? See, throughout the world, the population is increasing, all right, and this is the chief concern of entire people who are living on earth. But in this place, that is Venice, the population is decreasing, and the reason is that the water level of this place is increasing at 2 meters a year. All right, that means global warming is happening at intrinsic rate. So people are fleeing from this place, even though the place is very beautiful and it is giving tourists to survive on, but still the place itself is not much safer for the residents out here. Therefore, they are fleeing to other countries, other places which are nearby and which are safer. So this is the most surprising fact of this place, and it is also foreseen that the place Venice will have only tourists after some years, and this is because the residents of this place will flee to other places. All right, so this is about Venice as we know. Now we will understand what is this Venice in the story, whether it is as beautiful as I told you just now, or the Google says it, or it has something else hidden in its blanket. So let's see, what is it? Let's reveal it. Introduction. See, we have already discussed the place Venice. Now let me tell you the entire topic and what does it symbolize. Death in Venice. See, I told you about this place, and this is the place where couples want to visit, all right? But here it talks about death. See, when somebody marries, their second life or new era begins in their life. They are happy, they are very much elated to see the place. But what is happening here? Death in Venice. This shows that something is ending. It's not beginning, but it is ending, all right? Therefore, it is showing dark Venice. Dark Venice, because new life is not springing out, but there is death of somebody in this place. Therefore, we find that the place which was very beautiful, according to Google, according to other people, it is not so for the writer, right? And the protagonist especially. So what makes Venice a dark place? What makes Venice not much desired by the protagonist? Let's see. Friends, before we move into the story, let me talk a few of the important facts about the author, that is Thomas Mann, because see, whoever writes, there we find his experience poured into it. All right, here also Thomas, shares some of his life's experiences with us. So without understanding the author, it is next to impossible to understand the text. Therefore, let's understand him, and then we will move ahead. So here, Paul Thomas Mann, which is the full name of Thomas Mann, was born on 6th of June 1875, and the place was Lübeck, a place in northern Germany. I told you that this novel is a German novel. Okay, it's a German novel which is written by Thomas Mann. He died on 12th of August 1955. His father was Thomas Johann Henrik Mann, a senator and a grain merchant. Then mother is Julia de Silva Bruhans, a Brazilian woman. He was a German novelist. Prize laureate. He wrote highly symbolic and iconic novels and novellas. Symbolic, it means something is shown or told and something else is being understood. Okay, it symbolizes something else. So, the place, that is Venice, it symbolizes the wonderful phase of one's life. Alright, and our life is not going to remain same all the time. And the same has happened with Venice also. Venice, which was a wonderful place, had degraded. Alright, in the story we will understand that it had degraded, and there is hardly any chance that people will remain there safe and sound. So it symbolizes the phases of life, which is up and down in each and every nook and corner. So such kind of symbolic things are shown in his novel. Then we find iconic novels. Iconic, extremely important topics are dealt here. See, the topic death in Venice itself is iconic topic, and why I'll tell you. Whenever we talk about Venice, we talk about luxurious things and the beauty of nature, beauty of architecture as well. All right, but nobody talks about the dark side of this place. All right, the same goes with other beautiful places as well. If somebody does, speak ill about some place, then the people are not able to take it, and automatically the rebellion starts. All right, so loving one's place is fine, but whatever demerits are there in that particular place should also be considered and we should try to solve those issues as well. All right, and here Venice, though it is a beautiful place, there are flaws as well, and that has to be eradicated. And if we take all these suggestions of the tourists, of the locals in a positive way, then certainly we are going to improve, be it India, be it Italy, be it Germany, unless and until we have a habit of accepting facts, all right, even though it is in a form of feedback, all right, negative, positive, whatever it is, we will grow, else we will be degrading our country and our lives as well, because tourist means money, and without tourists any of the nations cannot grow in leaps and bounds. So it is our responsibility to understand the fact and move ahead gallantly. Okay, let's move ahead. Novella, I told you that what is a novella? Novella is shorter in length than a novel and lengthier than a short story. Okay, it is of average length. Therefore, these are called novellas. Let's move to the next point, and this is Buddenbrooks was his first novel. Henrik Mann was his elder brother, who was also a writer. Then he had very wonderful married life, and out of his marriage, he had 6 children, 3 out of which were writers. Erika, Klaus, Monica, Elizabeth, Michael, Michael, and Golo Mann. These were children of Mann, that is Paul Thomas Mann. In the regime of Hitler, they had to flee to Switzerland. See, during Hitler rule, everybody knows who is Hitler, okay? So, during his period, during this dictator's period, there was no freedom of speech, there was no freedom of writing, and therefore whoever were sent out, or whoever fled, or whoever trapped, they found different ways to express, and most of the German literature was found, was written in jail itself. So, those were treasured, and we know much more about Hitler's rule from these writings. So, these prisoners did not give up in the hands of Hitler totally. Okay, their mind was open, and they were able to project their problems in writing. And through that, we understand the tenure of Hitler meticulously. Background of the novel. Thomas Mann's original intention was to write about passion as confusion and degradation. See, passion as confusion. What does it mean? It means a person who is passionate about something. He is not able to decide what is it, because sometimes human mind get inclined to writings, sometimes suddenly he is interested in painting, all right, and sometimes he wants to become some official. So, in which area he has passion, he is not able to understand. So, passion as confusion and degradation. Now, why degradation? It is degrading on other aspects of life. Okay, when somebody is devoted to something, he will be totally focused, and he will not be able to see what are the other things which he is ignoring. It could be his health, it could be his other interests as well. All right, it could be his family members who are being ignored, it could be his friends as well. So, this passion is also a sort of degradation when we go closer to understand it. So, this was supposed to be his main topic, but he does not go into it, but the topic's theme gets shifted. So, let's move to the next point. After having been fascinated by the true story of Goethe's love for 18-year-old Baroness Ulrich von Levetzow, which had led Goethe to write his Marian Mad LG. So here we understand that the power of love. The love has power. That is why in Venice the tourists are attracted. Okay, if it was not so, then there are other options by which they could have sustained their time. But it is because of love that they come to Venice and they want to spend time here. So this particular place attracts tourists, and eventually they land up writing beautiful pieces of literature by them. Now let me tell you two incidences which led to the writing of this particular novel. First one is in May 1911, death of composer Gustav Malheur in Vienna. Okay, so this is another place, Vienna, where the composer and his friend died, that is Gustav Malheur. Next incident in his life was that Mann's interest in the boy Tadzio during summer 1911 vacation in Venice. So two incidences particularly inspired him to write this novel. First is about death, and next is about meeting a boy in Venice. Okay, so he combined these two, death in Venice. Okay, there is literal death as well, and there is symbolic death of so many things. All right, environment and other aspects which we will deal in the summary section. Let's move to the next point. He used the story to illuminate certain convictions about the relationship between life and mind. You need to understand these two topics very well, life and mind. See, what is our life? It is not going to be similar to the world that we have created in our head. Okay, so there are two lives, there are two things going simultaneously. The life which we have in front of us and another life which we want to lead and which is not practicalized yet. It is there in our imagination. Okay, so in order to clear this concept, I must suggest you to go through the story Adventure, which is there in class 11th of CBSE book. Alright, in Adventure with Mr. Gaitonde, Professor Gaitonde, the same thing has happened. Reality is something else and he had gone to some other place. Okay, that was happening in imaginary world. He had gone to past and then he had lived a life in his imagination. Okay, so here the writer Thomas Mann is talking about the same life. See, he used this story to illuminate, that is to show certain convictions about the relationship between life and mind. There is, what is the association between life and mind? Let me tell you that there are some things which are not in our hand. Okay, we have to make things happen by our hard work. Some are possible, some are not. So those which are not, we have to let it go. We have to keep it aside. But if we want to forcefully make that happen, it is going to ruin our morale. It is going to ruin our morality also. It is going to ruin the people around us. And eventually it is going to break the system of our societies. The same thing we can see here in the novel also, that the protagonist goes beyond the social norms to satisfy his passion, all right, the passion which he wanted to live since many years. All right, so that destroyed the norms of society and eventually he dies. So how he dies and what all things happens, we will understand. Let me complete the background at first. In this novel, Aschenbach represents the intellect. Now, there is a writer, that is Aschenbach, who is representing intelligence. All right, he is a great intellect, or he is a great personality who is a renowned writer. All right, and in some search of happiness and solace, he moves to other country, and there he happens to indulge in wrong passion. So what was it? We will wait for that. Last point out here is that Mann was influenced by Sigmund Freud and his views on dreams. See, Sigmund Freud is one of the psychologists. Okay, and he writes about psychology. Only he is a writer and he writes about psychological things. So he is also in favor of subconscious mind, ego and subconscious mind. All right, and Sigmund Freud is also a writer and he talks about things related to intelligence. Okay, things related to intelligence. So in his stories, we find two things happening at the same time. Two worlds are happening at the same time. So the same thing has inspired Thomas Mann as well. Okay, so in the story, we find two minds working simultaneously. How it happens, we will read. Last point here from the background section. He was also inspired by Friedrich Nietzsche, who had visited Venice several times. So the one who has visited, only they will be able to write about the place in a vivid manner. So he was also a philosopher. Friedrich was also a philosopher who wrote about Venice in his writings. So being enchanted by this Venice, he comes here, and then what all things happens, we will see. Move to the next topic, that is characters of the novel. Here are three characters only. Okay, first is the protagonist, second is a boy, and third one is the friend of that boy. So let us start with the first one, that is Gustav von Aschenbach. He is a German writer and he has become a little bit old. He has reached to his adulthood, but he is very honorable writer. All right, through his writing, he had been able to attract his audience, and he has published many books in his life. Not only that, he has been awarded with several prestigious titles as well. He is fastidious, Mann, and repressed also. Fastidious means the one who is artificial. All right. So here in the story, we find that he is trying to fake his life. All right. Like he is not somebody and he is trying to be so. Next is that, and this is, let me tell you one more thing. This is because of the parental pressure. All right. Because his father and mother both were into different arenas, different fields. All right. And that pressurized the child to become successful. And right from the beginning, this was put into his mind that he has to be successful. Okay. So he started faking it. All right. Next, he was repressed, suppressed by all these pressure of the parent. He was of high public status in Germany. I told you that he had been a great writer, so everybody respected him. Next, he travels to Venice and he stays in a hotel. There he happens to see a beautiful boy, Tadzio, who is also a guest. As he gives away to his long-suppressed sexuality, he falls in love with Tadzio, embracing beauty and the sensual side of art. Now, these 3 points I will merge into one and I'll tell you. First of all, he had been restricted to one, what should I say, status. Okay, in Germany, he had to be projecting as if he is a renowned person and he is very submissive, right? He who respects his reputation and who is not available for everyone all the time. And this was supposed to be the nature of highly statured people. But here, that was not so. Okay, in Venice, when Aschenbach, when he came to Venice, he happened to explore his sexuality when he looks at Tadzio. Now, one thing we need to understand is that the lesbian relationship is being highlighted here, which was not allowed in that society. Okay, so actually this did not happen in practical, but still the thinking itself created a sense of breaking of rules and regulations of society at that time. So here he happens to see, and that too with a child. Okay, with a child, he was imagining that he is into sexual relationship. Okay, next, he falls in love with this Tadzio. Now this shows that the reputed man, the reputed Aschenbach, had gone way, very much diverted to his system, I must say, or rules and regulations, I must say. So he loved somebody who is of his own gender. All right, next, he was a child and he did not mind loving a child, even though in imagination. So he had gone a long way from being a writer to being a normal person who is not restricted by any of the rules and regulations. So in this character, we find both. He is a reputed person. At the same time, he is a person who is trying to explore unexplored arenas, that is sexuality. Okay. Next point, which is very worthy, is that we need a system to sustain in society. Without system, our society is not going to work at all. All right. So here he also abandons morality and dignity, abandoning himself to passion, decadence, and ultimately death. Now, what happens is that he wants to explore his passion. Okay. Next, he wants to be in rule also, which is not possible once somebody breaks the morality of his own. And once he goes away from the social norms, he will not be a person who is restricted at all. And when there is no restriction, there is destruction waiting or looming towards the individual. That is what happens. When he breaks the rule, he brings his doom near to him. Friends, when we look at this character from symbolic point of view, we understand that those people who are into norms of the society are respected in society. And in nature, there is a system that people have to follow, because of which the system is intact. When it deviates from the channel, from the system, then it goes into the mouth of destruction. So Aschenbach tells or represents the destruction at the same time, the reputed aspect of a person, that is positive aspect of a person, and negative aspect of a person as well at the same time. So to get renowned in society, we need to follow the norms, and that is the innate message of this novella. Friends, let's talk about another character, that is Tadzio. Tadzio is a very innocent, pure-souled, beautiful Polish boy. Because of this Tadzio's innocence and beauty, another character, that is Gustav, gets attracted. He is also aware of Aschenbach's interest in him. Now, of course, when somebody looks at somebody continuously, and then if somebody notices moves of somebody, then they understand that they are interested in them. So in the same way, Tadzio had also noticed Aschenbach, and he understood that this man is interested in him. An intensely beautiful Polish boy of about 14. So he had sexual fantasy with this 14-year-old Polish boy. He stays with his mother, sister, and governess at the same hotel in Venice as Gustav von Aschenbach. So both of them were in the same hotel where they happened to meet with each other, And then Aschenbach started making his imagination after that. The last character we have is Jashu, and Jashu is Tadzio's close companion at the hotel. And the next point is he seems to idolize Tadzio, acting as his vassal. Jashu has glossy black hair, a sturdy build, and a rowdy temperament, serving as a polar opposite to Tadzio. We told you that Tadzio is a very innocent boy who is very calm and composed. He is beautiful, okay, he is handsome, at the same time he is well-mannered, very polite boy as well. Therefore, his nature, not only his beauty, but his nature also attracted other people. Okay, and one of them was Jashu, and another one is the protagonist, Gustav. So, both of them loved Tadzio. One as he had to fulfill his sexual passion, and another one genuine friend. So here we find people who are with positive mindset and people with negative mindset. Aschenbach had negative mindset because he wanted to exploit or molest the child because he had fantasy with him. But Jashu, even though he was of rowdy temperament, he did everything about the safeguarding of Tadzio. He never wanted to hurt Tadzio in any way. Therefore, we find these three characters only in the story. So let's move ahead. Dear friends, we will do theme in our next video because the time is getting exceeded. So what we will do, we will wind up the video here itself. Tomorrow I'll upload theme and then rest of the stories as well. Till then we meet. Take care.